Pearls. For centuries, they have fascinated and enthralled us with their luster and beauty. These mysteries of the sea were reserved for centuries just for the elite, the very rich, and royalty. In the 20th century, however, advances in science made culturing of pearls possible, which made them available to the masses. Before you, I have set 4 examples of the different kinds of pearls available today. Now, there is a range of qualities and prices here, from in the neighborhood of $200 to one strand that has a valuation of $50,000. Now, as I talk and describe to you the way in which pearls are formed in nature, I'd like you to just consider each one and see which you think is the best, which ones are better, and which are the basic. Now, pearls occur in nature essentially because oysters have become irritated by an element that has come into their shells and has started bothering their flesh. Now, what they do is roll their flesh around ever so slightly and start secreting a fluid called nacre onto the irritant. And as they roll it around, layers of this nacre, this lustrous material, start to build up and protect their flesh from the irritant. This rolling motion also is what gives the pearl its shape. Now, this used to occur naturally, but due to overfishing and the demand for pearls, they became nearly extinct. So we developed a method of farming pearls by going down into the sea and introducing that irritant into the shell. What we usually use is an actual piece of an existing oyster shell that has been sacrificed for this purpose. So culturing comes in a few different kinds. We have saltwater culturing and freshwater culturing. I'll give you a little hint on the pearls I've laid before you. We have an example here of freshwater culturing and 2 examples of saltwater culturing. We also have a strand of natural pearls, and can you guess which are which? Now, in freshwater pearls, they are cultured multiple at a time in one shell, and obviously they come from fresh water, from rivers and streams. Saltwater, however, are done one at a time. The oriental pearls tend to be much smaller, but of very high quality, very high luster. Luster is the reflectivity of the pearl itself. And the South Sea pearls that come from Australia, Indonesia, and the Philippines tend to be much larger. I may be giving away some of the information here on which strand is which. So the first type of pearls I'd like to talk to you about are freshwater pearls. These are the entry-level pearls that most of you may be familiar with today. These are formed in rivers and lakes, and multiples come from one shell. This here is our example of freshwater pearls. This is what we would call an opera-length strand, and this would retail in the neighborhood of $200. Now, still in the realm of culturing pearls, we have our saltwater pearls. These are all formed in the same way, but in contrast to freshwater pearls, 1 pearl per shell. Now, these are our Japanese Akoya pearls. Very uniform in shape in their roundness, and a very even distribution of luster and overtones of color. A strand of Japanese Akoya pearls like this will probably retail in the region of $2,000. Now, these are our saltwater South Sea pearls, similar to the single pearl I have here. Because of their size, South Sea pearls take much longer to grow and be farmed in the shells. As you can see, there is a vast difference between the Japanese Akoya saltwater cultured pearls and the South Sea pearls. They come in a variety of colors, a variety of shapes, and a variety of sizes. And all of these factors dictate aspects of their value. Now these South Sea pearls are a little off in shape. However, their luster is excellent and they are of a fairly large size. As a result, this strand of pearls would attract a valuation in the neighborhood of $10,000. Now, the final strand I'm going to show you in this segment is this one here on my left. This is a 19th century strand of natural pearls. The rarity of this I cannot stress to you enough. Natural pearls have been a staple of the aristocratic society for centuries. In fact, the first recorded mention of natural pearls was by Chinese scholars in 2200 BC. There is endless folklore about pearls stemming from the period when these would have come from. It was even said that Queen Victoria made a tradition of, for each daughter, giving her a pearl every year on her birthday, so that by the time she was 18, the young girl would have a strand of her own. What's more, Pierre Cartier, when he moved to New York and bought his mansion on Fifth Avenue, he paid for the entire mansion with one strand of natural pearls. Now again, similar to our cultured pearls here, we use the same criteria to value them. How round are they? How lustrous are they? How large are they? What is the surface quality of them? Are they pocked and marked? Have they got rings around them? Or are they perfectly round, lustrous pearls like we associate with this particular gem? This strand, as I mentioned, has a valuation, an independent valuation of $50,000. Absolutely natural. So how do you tell? Great question. Essentially, the only way to tell for sure if a strand is natural or cultured is through an X-ray. To the naked eye, it can be very, very difficult to say for sure if it is natural or not. Over time, and after handling several examples, you may start to tell the difference fairly easily between Akoya pearls and freshwater cultured pearls. But to tell a natural pearl, if someone says they can tell you on eye, I would be highly doubtful. You do need a specialized X-ray to tell you for sure. A little more info on natural pearls and hopefully to dispel some myths. I have here before me again the strand of natural pearls that I showed you earlier. Now, based on the age of these pearls, I can be fairly sure these were sourced from the Orient. Earlier pearls sold in Europe quite often came from Columbus's voyages to the New World. And in the early 16th century, when he visited the shores of Panama and Venezuela, he encountered Aboriginal people covered in natural pearls. The European market was so excited about finding these and introducing them to their trade that it changed pearl production. But again, overfishing exhausted those sources relatively quickly. The thing I find very interesting about strands like these, and that myth I wanted to tell you about, was that in a necklace like this that is about 150 years old, you'll notice that it still has very high quality luster. I'd like to address this myth that pearls over time lose their luster and become less valuable. The only way that that really occurs is if you stop wearing them. Take, for example, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Now, she is often seen wearing 2 strands of pearls that she wore to her wedding. These pearls have a fairly magnificent royal provenance, as one strand, the larger of the 2, used to be owned by Queen Anne in about 1690. The second strand, known as the Queen Caroline strand, belonged to King George II's wife and date to the early part of the 18th century. These are both 300-plus-year-old necklaces, and they still look lustrous and fine. This necklace, at 150 years old, also still looks very well. Now, pearls, because they're born of the sea, naturally on a microscopic level have levels of moisture. And as you wear them, moisture from your skin and the humid environment provided by your skin keeps the pearls looking great. If they're not worn, if they're locked away in a safe, they do tend to dry out, and that can dim the luster and increase some brittleness to your pearls. As I mentioned, pearls come in a variety of colors. Here I have two great examples to show you of absolutely natural occurring pearl colors. On my right here, I've got a strand of Tahitian black pearls. And on my left, what some refer to as gold or champagne pearls. Some will see these colors and assume that man has had a hand in coloring them. But in fact, these are absolutely natural. As the name implies, these come from the seas around Tahiti, and similar to our Australian South Sea pearls, they grow in very large diameters. These are Australian South Sea pearls, and as you can see, have a magnificent and extremely rare color of gold. In real estate, we talk about location, location, location to value a property. In pearls, similar to diamonds, we have 3 or 4 characteristics that we look at: color, size, and also shape. Now, in an ideal world, people seem to prize the most these very round pearls. The bigger they are, the higher price they can attract if the color and surface quality and luster are also very good. Now, there are some other shapes, though, that do attract commercial interest. On my right here, I have a pair of earrings that are in a shape we call mabe. Now, those are often called blister pearls because a mabe pearl forms on the side of the shell. Instead of like other pearls, where the oyster has produced the nacre and it's free flowing inside the shell, it is formed on the side as a blister, so to speak. These are harvested from the shells themselves, cut off and usually filled with resin and backed with mother of pearl before being set in jewelry. In times past, these were considered not terribly valuable pearl examples, but we found that in today's market, they're becoming rarer and rarer and harder to find. Now, the other major shape that you'll see in pearls is what we refer to as Baroque. Baroque, like the period of art history known for highly ornamental forms and shapes and asymmetry, is where these pearls got their name. This rather magnificent necklace of a stylized jellyfish before me features not only Baroque pearls in their shape, as you can see they're like teardrops, or the main body of the jellyfish has been formed with this almost cushion-shaped pearl at the top, but these are also what is known as keshi pearls. Now, keshi pearls have a very interesting life. They started life as a cultured pearl with that irritant being introduced into the shell. But essentially what the oyster did was spat out the irritant, but continued to produce nacre. Now, these are incredibly valuable because similar to natural pearls, they are solid pearl with no seed inside. There was a time where they were considered less valuable because their shape was irregular. But in today's market, we see these as some of the most valuable forms of pearl. One of the other main characteristics that give pearls not only their beauty and enthrall us, but also dictates value is their luster. I've given you 2 examples here to try and point out some of the differences in a pearl with very high luster and a pearl that is very good, but just not quite as good. In that pearls are produced by nature, we don't have much influence on what we get when we harvest pearls, which makes them rarer when they have all of these magical characteristics in line to give them this value. Of course, you can use different treatments to try and manufacture this, but that is very much reflected in the value. So I have here on my right a single solitary pearl that I bought in Tahiti, a Tahitian black pearl with excellent luster. It has beautiful overtones of color in almost a peacock green and pink. And the closer I get to it, and as I move my finger to it, there is a mirror-like quality that almost gives me a likeness of myself as I'm peering into it. Now, the pearls on my left do also have a very fine color and lots of overtones of different colors, but as I move my hand closer to them to try and get a reflection, it's less distinct. Now, we're being picky here when it comes to luster, but these are qualities that do determine the value. Two more fun little tips about pearls. One, a surefire test to know if what you're looking at is plastic beads or actual pearls is rub them on your teeth. In doing so, you'll notice a very fine grittiness in genuine pearls, cultured or otherwise. If they're slick like plastic, unfortunately they are. And please, stop biting your pearls. You can damage the surface and decrease their value in doing so. The other thing to make note of is, when you're wearing your pearls, put your perfume on first and then your pearls. The old saying goes, pearls should be the last thing you put on when you get dressed and the first thing you take off when you get home. Feel free to reach out on any of our social media channels and our website to find out more about your pearls and some that we have for offer as well.